You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. Tuesday started off with an absolute bombshell, and I don't use that word very often. Look, I know a lot of people, especially in conservative media, like to throw out that everything's a bombshell. This is a legitimate bombshell, and it involves one of my favorite people in the world, as far as from a media perspective, because she's just an endless flow of fun, okay? Of course, I'm talking about Liz Cheney, former disgraced congresswoman, allegedly a Republican, but she really sided a lot more with the Democrats. She is a neocon's neocon, and she absolutely hates Donald Trump, which is why she was eager to get involved with the January 6th committee. And it appears that her involvement might actually get her into some trouble. According to, it's funny because I got a text from John Solomon. There's a name drop for you. Got a text from John Solomon this morning from Just the News, and he only sends them when he's got something truly legitimately breaking. So he had this on my radar long before it went viral on Twitter, long before it went viral anywhere else. He had this story super early in the morning. Good stuff. Anyway, according to Just the News, House GOP accuses Liz Cheney of tampering with J6 witness, asks FBI to investigate criminality. And it's been updated, so she is now officially referred for criminal action, for a criminal investigation, I should say. But we'll get into that. According to the article by, who wrote this? Oh, John and Stephen Richards. John Solomon and Stephen Richards wrote it. Let's get this out of here. House Administration Oversight Subcommittee and its chairman, Barry Loudermilk, on Tuesday released an interim report on the January 6th Capitol riot, including the attack was preventable, and also asking for an investigation into former Rep. Liz Cheney for criminally tampering with a witness during the Democrat-led congressional inquiry of the tragedy, the event, we should say. That's one thing. I love John Solomon, but they do refer to it as a riot. Okay, fine. I guess from a news perspective, you could say it's a riot, but let's face it. It was a protest that was pushed by the FBI, but we'll discuss that some other time. Let's get back into the report. This was released by the House Administration Oversight Subcommittee. Based on the evidence obtained by this subcommittee, numerous federal laws were likely broken by Liz Cheney, the former vice chair of the January 6th Select Committee, and these violations should be investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, do we expect to see anything happen anytime soon? No, probably not until Kash Patel is officially confirmed and running the show. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe Christopher Wray will do one good thing before he leaves. Just give me one good thing, Chris. Just one. Back to the report. Evidence uncovered by the subcommittee revealed that former Congresswoman Liz Cheney tampered with at least one witness, Cassidy Hutchinson, by secretly communicating with Hutchinson without Hutchinson's attorney's knowledge. The secret communication with a witness is improper and likely violates 18 U.S.C. 1512. Such action is outside the due function of the legislative process and therefore not protected by the Speech and Debate Clause. According to this, federal law criminalizes witness tampering of varying degrees and subjects a defendant to as many as 20 years in prison. Oh, gosh, that'd be great. What I would give to see Liz Cheney behind bars for 20 days, let alone 20 years, that would be amazing. But we'll see. You know how these things go. They always get your hopes up. They always say, "Oh, we're going to be opening up an investigation, and we're going to be censuring, and we're going to be sending really harshly worded letters." Until I see the Republican House or the Republican Senate, for that matter, until I see actual action taken by any of these guys, I view this as fun, exciting, great to, for the imagination to see bars and see Liz Cheney behind them. But we've had our hopes busted, dozens of times before. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. Look, we've had some great news for the last month and a half. President Trump won great nominees for the various positions. We've had lawsuits. We've had some good news. It's been a good month and a half for MAGA and for America. But you can't really attribute any of the good times to the House or the Senate or the FBI or anything like that. As a matter of fact, the only reason that I think this is a huge story isn't because we learned anything new. We knew all along that Liz Cheney was corrupt. We also had heard before, like we've already known that she was communicating with Cassidy Hutchinson. That's not breaking news. What's breaking is that apparently there's going to be some type of action. But until I see it, I'm not getting my hopes up. Until there's an actual grand jury, there are charges filed, until Liz Cheney is actually trying to leave the country or something, until that day happens, I'm just gonna mark this off as this is the most winning that we're going to get out of it. Is it still a bombshell? Absolutely. Hopefully this will be enough to shut Liz Cheney up for the rest of our lives. And maybe there will be repercussions against Hutchinson. I don't know. All I know is that so we're in a position right now, January 6th, it looks as if things are going to get better for the January 6th political prisoners. It looks like things are going to get better for the United States of America as a whole. And all of this stuff that we're seeing here, is it kabuki theater? Yes. Is it still fun to watch? You betcha. Judicial Watch is reporting on more corrupt and wasteful aid being sent to the Taliban, this time in a way that really chapped my khakis. According to the article, Afghanistan gets $122.5 million to combat gender-based violence under Taliban with no follow-up. No follow-up. That alone, I don't even have to get into the article. That alone should really tick you off. It's sort of like giving a fat man food stamps and saying, here you go buy healthy food with this. We trust you. According to the article, in the latest scandal to rock the Biden administration's massive Afghanistan aid boondoggle, the U.S. government has been derelict in its duty to measure the effectiveness of a $122.5 million investment to combat gender-based violence in the Islamic nation after the Taliban took over, according to a federal audit. The investigation conducted by the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction also reveals that the administration failed in this case to follow a government practice for monitoring implementation of its foreign assistance award. Here you go. We trust you. Here's $122.5 million. Use it for gender stuff. Use it to not buy Doritos. That includes collecting required progress reports, validating the data in those reports through site visits and other verification means, and assessing the periodic performance reports of groups receiving taxpayer dollars to implement programs. Additionally, the State Department, the agency dispersing the cash, did not even include any goals for preventing and responding to GBV in Afghanistan, investigators found. So it's not only did they say, hey, here, use this to go buy healthy food, they said, hey, you don't know what healthy food is? Tough. Figure it out. And they get surprised when they come back with Doritos. Look, gender-based violence, okay, basically attacks on women in Taliban-run Afghanistan is a huge problem. I'm not suggesting we send aid there. You know, it's a huge problem. It's just not our problem. Unfortunately, that's something that, aid groups want to help out, but not with taxpayer dollars. With that said, I can assure you that this $122.5 million, not a single Taliban-ruled woman had her life made better as a result of this waste. Democrats have become the party of the coastal elite. That's according to Brent Buchanan, a pollster who was recently interviewed by Sean Spicer as they discussed what happened to the Democrat Party. How did they lose so badly? And they say they attributed at least a good portion of it to the fact that they spent a lot of time, energy, and money trying to get these actors and singers and anybody they could get out there to go on stage and go to rallies and perform, and then, oh, by the way, vote Kamala. That was the intention, and clearly it didn't work. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with him. He is correct. With that said, I think that it's actually it's worse than that. There's more to it than just money and favors. But first, let's play the segment from his interview.
The main problem Democrats have now is they're the party of the coastal elites, and the coastal elites thought that all these artists being condescending to voters was a great idea, and we should put lots of money and effort behind that. And that's why her campaign spent millions of dollars paying people to show up at events and either sing a song or endorse her, and it had no effect.
I mean, like I said, I wholeheartedly agree. I just think it goes deeper than that. I think it's telling, very telling, that they were having a hard time getting a lot of these celebrities. I'm not talking about Robert De Niro, who would back a coconut if that coconut was running against Donald Trump. I'm talking about the ones that many of whom even declared during the campaign that they weren't going to get very involved. They weren't going to participate. They weren't going to get political this time around. But what happened? A lot of them that were saying they weren't going to get political shortly after Sean Diddy Combs was arrested, they were ready to play ball. They got so super aggressive along the way. I would argue that, and this is obviously anecdotal, or not anecdotal, what's the word I'm looking for? Circumstantial, there we go. Circumstantial evidence, but it is pretty compelling, in my humble opinion, because you did see them flock to Kamala shortly after the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. Were they in the tapes? We would assume so. And were those tapes being used to coerce certain people? I would say the answer is yes, which is why I'm super excited about the prospects of Kash Patel being the FBI director. We'll see if Pam Bondi as Attorney General will play ball, but I would say that Kash might have the authority to release all of it. The Epstein tapes, the Epstein list, the Diddy tapes, and hopefully, Lord willing, we'll actually see some of these sick, depraved people brought to justice. The economy is arguably the biggest reason that President Trump was able to win re-election so easily. He was able to point to what the Biden-Harris regime has done for the last 4 years, and it has been awful. It has been absolutely horrendous. And despite the fact that many of the indicators are already popping up, we're already seeing consumer sentiment rise, for example, as a result of the election. People are starting to have more faith in the future of the economy. There's still so much work to do. This isn't going to be instant. In fact, it's not even going to be fast. I would argue that if they really work hard and focus on as much attention as they can to fixing the economy, it would take at least 2 years just to get us back to level, okay? I know that we all have great and high expectations for President Trump's second term, and look, we have every reason to think that. But when it comes to the economy, the damage has been tremendous. We're still seeing it today. Here's an article over at economiccollapse.report by Michael Snyder. Look at these prices. 37% of Americans struggle to pay their most basic bills as food prices accelerate. When one of my readers is from the Economic Collapse blog is where it was originally published, and we have it cross-posted with permission over at economiccollapse.report. When one of my readers sent me a photo of egg prices at a store in Western Washington State, I could hardly believe what I was seeing. I clearly remember when I could purchase a carton of quality eggs at the grocery store for just 99 cents, but thanks to inflation and a bird flu crisis that never seems to end, those days are long gone. Now, it is common to pay $5, $6, $7, or even $8 for a carton of eggs. And I'll tell you, buddy, out here in California, I have seen $10 eggs. We're not talking like any frou-frou, super, ultra, mega awesome special eggs. We're not talking about ostrich eggs or gold-plated eggs. These are just regular, high-quality, local farm organic eggs. And yes, they are over $10 per dozen out here. Back to the article. In fact, it probably won't be too long before we crack the $10 barrier. Well, there you go. In the old days, eggs were considered to be a very inexpensive way to feed your family, but now food prices have gone completely insane. Unfortunately, it isn't just egg prices that are spiking. And he goes on to explain how we're struggling. Americans are definitely struggling right now with the economy, with inflation. And I want to put out I just want to be realistic here. You know, there are certain things, certain aspects of President Trump's presidency that are going to be dramatically affected starting on day one, some that have already been dramatically affected even before he stepped foot back in the Oval Office. The economy is not one of those things. He's not going to be able to fix it on day one. He's not going to be able to fix it on day 10 or week 10 or month 10. The economy is going to be in a very bad place for a very long time. I shouldn't say very long. We should be able to get this thing fixed. If Congress does their job, we should be able to get everything fixed within the next 2 years. And when I say fixed, I'm saying bring it back to stable, to level, Okay, not skyrocketing. That'll probably take a lot longer. But I do believe we'll get there. I do believe that President Trump will be able to do as much, if not more, for the economy than he did during his first term. But we do need Congress, who has control of the purse strings. We need Congress to act, to be diligent, to be responsible. We're not seeing it right now. Right now, we're seeing anything but. As a matter of fact, there was as of right now, they are putting out the continuing resolution, basically the budget, the money that we're going to be spending in government for the foreseeable future. That goes up for a vote on Wednesday. It just got released on Monday. It's 1,500 pages. How in the world is anybody supposed to really dive deep into it and decide whether or not they want to vote for it or not? The answer, of course, is they can't and they won't and they don't. The vast majority of people on Capitol Hill, they don't really know what's in the bill. They sign it anyway. They know what they're told, that, hey, this is supposed to be good, this is supposed to be bad, but we need to get it passed or else they'll shut down the government and yada, yada, yada. It'll affect this donor, that crony. It'll affect our election chances, whatever whatever self-serving motivation they have to continue to vote for this stuff. But we're talking about a humongous amount of money. It's about to be laid upon us right before President Trump gets back into office. As I noted on X in a semi-viral post, what we're seeing Congress do today by pushing the CR as rapidly as possible with as much in it as possible, what we're seeing is the equivalent of a fat man eating a jar of mayonnaise right before he's supposed to go on a diet. I would say the vast majority of my audience is very, very hopeful for the future. The election of President Trump has been we're seeing shockwaves. We're already seeing results even at this early stage, but there are still concerns. He can't do everything. He's going to do everything in his vast power to protect us, to protect our nation, to defend the Constitution, to protect our freedoms. But that doesn't mean that there won't be risks, challenges. We're already seeing wars popping up and rumors of wars popping up across the globe. Will he be able to stop all of them? I think so. But what if he can't? What if, for whatever reason, cooler minds, cooler heads don't prevail and we find ourselves in the midst of something tragic? What about natural disasters? What about just the idiocy of the globalist regimes across this planet that are trying to do everything they can to destroy our food supply? They want to control the food, and they want to make sure that we're not eating the good stuff, especially as it pertains to protein, and specifically as it pertains to beef. Cows seem to be the main culprit for every boogeyman propagating bad guy out there. As a part owner of an all-American, patriotic, freeze-dried steak company, I am very, very blessed, pleased, and honored to be able to offer my wonderful audience an opportunity to take advantage. If you go to worldviewbeef.com and use promo code JDR, you will get the maximum possible discount. And there are other discount codes out there that are less. It's not like with certain companies where, it doesn't matter which promo code you use. Use JDR. I own the company. Use promo code JDR and get the maximum discount at any given moment at worldviewbeef.com. All American, no mRNA jabs. It's just the good stuff. So check it out, worldviewbeef.com. Rumors started circulating on Monday that Democrat Congressman Jared Moskowitz from Florida is being strongly considered for the role of FEMA director. And obviously a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives are upset by this potential move because he's a Democrat. But there are good reasons that we should consider this as a positive, and I'll explain all those. Be sure to follow me on X. If you're watching this video on Rumble or YouTube or wherever, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to give me that all-important thumbs up. So Jared Moskowitz, let's start off with, number one, he is extremely qualified. He is essentially the statewide FEMA director, the Florida version of a FEMA director for 2 years under Ron DeSantis. And all accounts, he did a fantastic job. Florida, of course, is one of those areas where, you're going to need somebody who can handle emergency situations, especially as it pertains to weather. And everybody said that he did a fantastic job there before moving on to Congress. He is a Democrat, but he is as close to being a moderate Democrat as they get. I think was it Progressive Punch, which monitors and scores the members of House and Senate based upon their voting record. They had him near the bottom for Democrats. I think he was like 12th worst or 198th best, as they would put it, because they're progressive. The 198th best member of Congress out of, when was it, 210, 209 Democrats that they were following. So he is moderate, as moderate as you can get in today's Democrat Party. He is an anti-free speech guy. I don't like that. But again, we're talking about FEMA. So unless he gets into weaponization of FEMA, as we saw with the current administration, then that would be bad. But I just don't see that happening, especially now that FEMA has been so widely exposed. I would expect Moskowitz to go in there and do his job, as well as he possibly can. But here's the real, if you want to call it 4D chess, you can. It's really just a political move. Moskowitz is in a district that is quickly becoming more and more purple. Yes, it still leans Democrat, but he only won his reelection by about 4 points. Okay, Florida itself as a state is becoming more Republican, and his district is becoming more Republican. Now, in Florida, when a congressional seat comes open, the governor does not fill the seat. A special election is called, and in the special election, considering how thin of a margin Republicans have, I would imagine that there will be a whole lot of money, a whole lot of effort, a whole lot of people in that small district. I think it's District 23, if I recall. The small district, a lot of people are going to be trying to get that vote. And if that vote can flip, if that seat can be flipped to red, then awesome. That's just more ammunition for Mike Johnson and for President Trump to be able to pass legislation. If they can't flip it, if a Democrat wins again, no loss. Okay, maybe we get a loss by getting somebody more radical than Moskowitz in there, but still, I would consider it a worthy risk to take. We need to get stuff done in Congress, get Agenda 47 done, and it'll be easier if they can get just that one more vote. Every additional House seat counts dramatically, considering how thin the majority is. So I like the move. I think I think this, again, I wouldn't call it 4D chess like some are, but it's a good move. It's a good move. What do you think? Leave a comment. Let me know. Moskowitz, good, bad, indifferent? Your call. A report over the weekend got a whole lot of people anxious. People who have been covering and researching the drone activity, or allegedly drone activity, happening in New Jersey and across the country. Well, there was a report that said that nuclear waste material had been lost. Where? In New Jersey. It's like, oh, this is it. This is what they were talking about. And by they, I mean those who are referring to the theories that either a dirty bomb of some sort, a radioactive nuclear waste material, or an actual nuclear warhead itself from Ukraine, that's why there's all these drones. They're sniffers. They're supposedly out there seeking to find this radioactive material, these dirty bombs, these nuclear bombs, whatever it is that they're looking for. And when people saw, oh my gosh, you mean they lost radioactive material? Radioactive waste material in New Jersey? This has got to be the big one. Well, some people did their research and then dismissed it immediately. Why? Because the event happened on December 3rd. Well, what does that tell us? Since the drone activity has been happening since, at the latest, since mid-November, well, this might not be it. And the other reason those who looked into it sort of dismissed it, many of them did, was because it was a small amount, a very small amount of germanium-68 that was being transported. Not enough to register. It was listed as a non-emergency on the required report. Okay, so a lot of people started down that road and then thought, nah, this couldn't be it. They dismissed it. Then there were other people, other conspiracy theorists, who said, oh, no, wait, this could be used. I saw one person who said, you could take this germanium-68 and you can expand it and turn it, and it percolates and homogenizes and whatever. You can turn it into a dirty bomb in like 4 weeks. It's like, okay. Well, yeah, that's a possibility, but I think there's another possibility. And to me, given everything that we've seen, it's the right one, or maybe not the right one, but it's plausible. It's viable. This could be what's happening. But let's first get some background information. An article that we have over at basedunderground.com. This is by the New American. Nuclear Regulatory Commission reports missing radioactive waste material. The U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission released an event notification report on December 13th, announcing that a radioactive pin source was reported missing on December 3rd. Pin source is a tiny radioactive pin used to calibrate medical imaging scanners. The germanium-68 waste material was being transported for disposal and went missing while in transit in Newfield, New Jersey. According to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the shipment container arrived at its destination damaged and empty. The event report said the missing material contained a very small amount of radioactive material. This material event contains a less than Cat 3 level of radioactive material. So it's like, okay, well, this is evidence that it couldn't be that, right? Because it's too small, happened too late, just a coincidence. But as we know, there are no coincidences. Well, let's assume, this is where if you need to go find your tinfoil hat, go ahead and do so. Get that on ASAP. If we assume that one of, or more than one possibly, of the theories that have been floating around for a week now, the theories that say that there is either a dirty bomb or dirty bomb material or nuclear material of some sort that could be used for a nuclear bomb or maybe a nuclear warhead itself is somewhere in or around New Jersey or possibly could have been transported to California or the West Coast somewhere or anywhere else where we're seeing these drones, okay? If that's the case, if that's reality, government starts looking for it in early November. They realize that what they have available to them, the drones they have on hand, it's not enough. They're already getting reports. People are already asking questions. So it's like, well, they're going to ask questions either way. They're already talking about these SUV-sized drones flying around. We're getting news reports about it. We might as well just get the job done. So we need to go out and get a lot more of these drones. But if to do this, we have to file the proper reports so that red flags don't raise, so that alarms aren't going off. We can't just go, hey, we need all these things out there, and we can't tell you what it's for. There are certain protocols that even our own stupid government has to do, and that's one of them. You have to announce the reason for it. So they made up a reason. They said, oh, well, we lost some germanium-68 on December 3rd, so we need, 2, 3, 4, 800 drones, something like that. And you might say, well, wouldn't somebody question it? No, not if the paperwork's filed. They don't care. They don't care what the details are. These are government employees. They're not sitting there thinking, oh, well, let me dig deeper into this and make sure that everything is... No, it's like, okay, paperwork's filed in Triplicate. Good, here's your drones, requisition, go take this to the whoever, and they'll get your drone set up. Happy hunting. I'm not trying to down, by the way, if you work in the government, I'm not saying you're that person. I'm saying if you are in the government, you probably are very well aware that there are many people out there working with you who fit under that description with my insulting accent that I just used. Point being is that if I were to hunt for a nuclear bomb or a dirty bomb, and if I didn't want to alert the general public, which obviously they don't, and if I wanted to get enough drones it's going to cause a fuss, but if we're going to do this, we might as well do it all the way. No half measures. So let's get some drones. We're going to have to file a report. We're going to have to make up something in order to say this is why we need them. That way we can tell people this is why we need them, but we can't tell you anything else. It's top secret. You can't just go straight in with top secret. You got to give them something, a report, a reason. That's what I believe this radioactive waste material report is. That's not the big one. The big one was already taking place. This is just the paperwork version of calling for reinforcements. After Trump was elected president, I received a couple of communications from people. One via phone, text, and the other one via Twitter, X, direct message. People asking me, hey, now that Trump's back in office, is the economy going to to get better? And I said, yeah, in some ways it definitely will. Obviously, I mean, just Trump's presence alone will have a dramatic impact on the economy, and it will take things to the next level. But with that said, the threats still remain. Trump, Harris, didn't matter. They're still pushing, they being the powers that be, are still pushing for central bank digital currencies. They're still pushing for de-dollarization and the rise of BRICS. They're still pushing for the advancement of a worldwide economy. And while Trump will do everything in his power to prevent that, to at least slow it down, some of it is not within even the power of the United States of America itself. And this is why there is no reason, and you can see by the gold prices, there's no reason to doubt physical precious metals as a proper way to hedge against what is coming, because it's still coming. You know, there were certain scenarios that would have happened if Kamala Harris had won, and there are certain scenarios that will happen now that President Trump has won, and those scenarios still point in the same exact direction. That's the reason why even central banks are still buying up as much gold and silver as possible. That's why banks, financial institutions are recommending to their people, buy as much gold and silver as possible. I work with a faith-driven gold company. There are a lot of gold companies out there that get recommended by hosts. The one that I like happens to be driven by faith, and they actually do a tremendous job versus the competition. You can check out Genesis Gold Group by going to rumblegold.com. That's rumblegold.com, or read my testimony over at jdrucker.com/gold. You know, it's funny because I noticed that there's a lot fewer people talking about the drones today as if it's no longer in the news cycle, it's no longer important, it's been resolved or something. I know that people today, now in 2024, almost 2025, the news attention span has dwindled to nothingness. Okay, and any news story, I don't care how big it is, you know, it used to be sometimes stories would last for weeks. Not so much anymore. Now it seems as if even before a conclusion is reached about a story, it's no longer on the radar. Heck, I mean, even you would think that the Luigi Mangione story would be, the Brian Thompson murder would be still big, huge news, right? Except it's not. Once again, it's not. It seems as if, I know the Liz Cheney story was big. Don't get me wrong. I get that. Even though, again, we already knew that Cassidy Hutchinson was out there. The only addition to the story was that now Barry Loudermilk and his subcommittee are calling for an investigation. Okay, great. But that's all that people are talking about on conservative media, at least on X, other social sites. It bugs me. I'll admit. It bugs me. The lack of attention span, the lack of follow through. We need to be able to take these stories to their conclusion. And until there is I'm not saying we don't take a break. I don't want to talk about drones all day. Obviously, but I do. I mean, we don't have a conclusion, and we are talking about the potential here for something catastrophic to the United States of America. Is Liz Cheney going to jail? Probably not. Is Cassidy Hutchinson going to jail? Almost certainly not. So why does that? Again, I'm just ranting. You know, I've been strongly considering, and I think today's show might be the last one where I'm focused on so much on the news cycle. I've always said, and I long before the election, I had said, I told myself, not to you guys, but I talked to myself, talked to my wife, prayed about it. I said, you know, is this really what I want to do? Do I want to just be a news hound? It fits. It's a natural fit because as the editor of thelibertydaily.com and americafirstreport.com, I am immersed in the news. So why don't I use that knowledge to the advantage of you, my viewers? But the question quickly becomes, just because I'm good at something doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I should do. It's not, I'll tell you, it's not what I want to do. I don't want to sit here and just go through news stories and say, oh, look, here's another breaking news story that's going to be forgotten out of memory here in a couple of days. I think a lot of what I want to do with this show is to take it more permanent, I guess you could say. dealing with things that are ongoing. But and that's not to say that I wouldn't cover breaking news, but maybe what we really need is to focus on the things that are happening ongoing. You know, focus on things, go more in depth, and not just soundbite, news clip. Let me know what you think, please. Go to jdrucker.com/talk, or you can go to my open DMs on Twitter, X, at x.com/jdrucker. So that's jdrucker.com/talk, or JD Rucker on the X platform. I have open DMs there. I don't have to be following you to receive your communications, and I do get communications from often random people every day. This will, let me know. Do you think that I've always wanted to do a show that's focused a lot more on the faith-driven side as well as the conspiratorial side? I'm not talking about like, oh my gosh, the earth is flat. I'm talking about holy crap, there really is a pedophilia ring that's amongst our leaders. That's ongoing. You don't need breaking news to know about that and to talk about that. Talking about fluoride, talking about the stuff that Alex Jones, for example, often talks about with the New World Order, talking about the stuff that Mike Adams over at Natural News often talks about with the various conspiracies that are happening. Again, I'm not talking about going totally fringe, but at least going more towards alternative media instead of just news. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, there is no shortage of people out there on Rumble or even YouTube or X or any of these other platforms. There's no shortage of conservatives that are out there talking about the news cycle. But I think there is a void to be filled. Call it the, lucid and sensible conspiracy theorist with a focus on biblical prophecy, on understanding the gospel and helping people to see things not just as the conspiracies in this world that they are, but also as something bigger, something supernatural, something that's more, focused on the Holy Spirit, but also that's highlighting the demonic activity, the satanic activity that's happening in the world. I'm shooting off the cuff here. Like, I literally came out of that break and had no intention of talking about this. I wanted to talk about drones. But I had noticed that as I'm on that break, I'm going through, looking at my X feed, and it's all Liz Cheney. All of a sudden, drones, no nothing to see here. Yeah, Brian Thompson / Luigi Mangione, nothing to see there. It's just whatever the news of the day is. And this is going to be unpopular, especially if you are an X content creator, influencer. Somebody who gets paid by X, who gets the required views, and I see a lot of them posting the exact same thing. I mean, within minutes, seconds of each other. Sometimes, it's literally, ooh, this is going to go viral. I will get a lot of people to like and repost this one, so this will end up getting me 300,000, 600,000, 2 million impressions, and impressions generate revenue. And I'm not, I want to be clear. Okay, I want to be clear. I am not insulting them for their desire to make money on X. God bless them for it. Let them do it. Okay, awesome. I'll admit I'm a little jealous that I can't just post a tweet and make money. I don't know how much money they make, but yeah. So I want to be clear. It's not about that, but it is the annoying part is that, this, it's like stuff. Oh, what was it? There was one yesterday that really, right. When President Trump posted on social or on Truth Social, he posted a comment about how Governor Justin Trudeau from the 51st state of Canada is a disaster. And it was funny. Okay. It was funny. But on at least the people that I'm following, and a lot of them are conservative influencers, I'm not exaggerating when I say it was 95% of them posted a screenshot of it with a 8-word, 7, 8, 9, 12-word comment about it, And maybe that's why I don't get hundreds of thousands or millions of no, I shouldn't say maybe. That's definitely why I don't get hundreds of thousands or millions of impressions on my X account. So, again, this was an off-the-cuff rant, totally unintended. Didn't even think about it until I got here, but here we are. So, is this the end of going through the news cycle for the JD Rucker Show? Am I going to transition, as they like to say, not in a transgender way, but am I going to transition the show to what I really want it to be? Here's the thing. And I had noticed this probably, it was just before the first assassination attempt against President Trump. I remember thinking, you know what, I'm going to stick with the news cycle until the election. Once we get President Trump back in office, we'll do a little cleanup, post-mortem, and then I'll shift to what I really want to talk about, which is the crazy things that are happening in the world that not nobody, but very few people are talking about. Nobody in the mainstream is talking about it. Nobody in legacy media is talking about it. And the vast majority of people in conservative media are not talking about it. Those types of stories. And again, making sure that it's all biblically driven. Let me know what you think. And look, I can take it if you think, Rucker, I like your show the way it is. Don't change anything. Send that to me. jdrucker.com/talk. x.com/jdrucker. Either way, it gets directly to me. No filters. So let me know. If good, bad. I mean, my heart, my mind and my skill set and my resources are geared towards the news cycle. They really are. Again, because I do read through anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 headlines every single day, 7 days a week, 365, 366 on leap years. But that's not what I necessarily want to do. It's funny because, my mother always used to tell me that I needed to be an engineer. She was basically grooming me to be an engineer when I was a child because I was good at math. I won math contests, state math contests when I was in like 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Math was everything. I'm that kid that for 3 years I would stay after school until 6 o'clock every day because they were like, we're building a math prodigy here. This, I mean, I'm not bragging, and I'm not ripping on it either. It was a great time. I learned a lot. I don't know any of it anymore. I couldn't remember. I couldn't even spell trigonometry anymore. But yeah, she wanted me to be an engineer, and I probably would have been a good engineer. That was where my skill set was. But I remember I was a sophomore in high school when I thought I'll give the newspaper a try. And the very two first stories I wrote, this is like the high school newspaper came out weekly. It came out weekly. And the first two stories that I ever wrote, I got the newspaper, the school paper came in. The editors never told us where the things were going. The advisor, the teacher didn't tell us. I got the newspaper, and I saw one of my stories was the top story, and then the secondary story was the other story. I covered the entire front page. I think that at that moment I was hooked. I was hooked on the idea that not the numbers, where my mind was, but not necessarily my heart. I realized at that moment that what I wanted to do was to talk to people. And I did, I actually did consider politics for about a minute as well, going into college, but decided, you know what? I think I want to go into journalism. And the rest is history. So let me know what you think. Stay the course, or do what I was thinking I was going to be doing anyway after the election, which is shifting towards talking about the global elite cabal a lot more. Talking less, I guess, about wasted aid in Afghanistan or Liz Cheney getting investigated, and talking more about drones. Talking more about by the way, just as far as a vision, I was thinking through this. It's not just about talking about the conspiracy theories. It's also debunking the bad ones. Okay? I mean, the CIA, the deep state, whoever, they've done a fantastic job of infiltrating the the conspiracy theory movement, right? They have a lot of people, even smart people, out there going down rabbit holes, going in the wrong direction. Okay, this is how you get flat earthers. And I know some of you out there are flat earthers. I'm not saying that I it's funny because I never insult the intelligence of flat earthers, because that seems to be the ploy that a lot of the people that debate flat earthers, they well, intellectually, no, it's not about that. Because here's the thing. It's one of those things. It's sort of like just how you see it, how you perceive things, because a lot of the evidence that we see, believing in the round earth, is also evidence that from a slightly skewed perspective, it benefits the flat earth argument. I've debated flat earthers before, not like on my show or anything like that. I had a flat earth caller back when I was on shortwave radio. Of course, it would be on shortwave radio. But back when I was on shortwave radio, I had a long call with a flat earther who, he wasn't rude or anything, but he did dominate the conversation, and he put out a whole bunch of information. Okay. And I let him go because I let him continue, not let him go. I let him go through it because I was intrigued. It was good information. Okay. I don't believe the earth is flat, but yeah, I think that we need to address the issues that have people believing that the earth is flat. So talking about conspiracy theories, there's as much of it has to do with debunking the incorrect ones. We have to try to get people focused on what's actually important, focused on the things that are biblical, focused on the things that are inspired. I'm not suggesting, is he talking about being a prophet? By no means. Okay. Don't ever, somebody call, you're very prophetic. It's like, whoa. Take a step back there, buddy. Don't accuse me of that. You're going to get me in trouble. That's not what I claim to be, nor do I've never, I'm right about some things. That's just, it is what it is. Holy crap. I used an entire segment talking about myself. I apologize. I generally don't do that. We do actually have a story. We've got a story that I'm going to talk about, but unfortunately I took so long. It's time for my last break of the day. So stay tuned, and then we'll get back to the actual show. Well, it is Christmas season. Christmas is back this year after a 4-year hiatus under Joe Biden. We are now excited to have an actual Christmas. And if you are seeking the right gift to get, there is one place where you should definitely be shopping, and that, of course, is mypillow.com. Go to mypillow.com/JDR. That automatically puts in the JDR code. I believe it does. Double check and make sure that you put in code JDR at mypillow.com. They've got specials out the wazoo. Obviously, the classic collection is on sale for as little as $14.88 with promo code JDR. They've got Price Buster this and just great stuff. And keep in mind, when you're shopping for people, a lot of this stuff is truly gift worthy, like the slippers and stuff like that. So mypillow.com/JDR, use promo code JDR, get the maximum discount, and have a Merry Christmas. All right, so the last segment was supposed to be about drones, but obviously that didn't happen. I end up going off on the sorry state of media. This city deserves a better brand of media, and I'm going to give it to them, right? An article over at endoftheamericandream.com by Michael Snyder highlights the 18 different theories about the mystery drones that are appearing along the East Coast from 18 different people. So let's just cut straight to the theories, shall we? Let's start with number 1. Donald Trump. Good place to start. He says our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense, he said during remarks at Mar-a-Lago on Monday. Something strange is going on, and for some reason, they don't want to tell people, and they should. I completely and wholeheartedly agree with everything that President Trump said on Monday. Number 2, James Howard Kunstler. The theory I lean toward is the notion that Joe Biden, meaning the D.C. blob, is desperately seeking some way to obstruct or fend off the January 20th inauguration of Mr. Trump. I like this theory, but I hope that's not true. But I do like that people are understanding that. I'm glad that other people, and not James Howard Kunstler has that conspiratorial mind anyway, but people are acknowledging the possibility that maybe this is just an administration that is trying to hang on. He continues, because, well, to put it bluntly, a whole lot of blobistas, I don't even know, the blobistas, are worried about going to jail when the likes of Kash Patel, John Ratcliffe, Tulsi G, and Pam Bondi get their mitts on the levers of power and start opening up the files. They've got 35 days to do something. Again, I'm not saying that that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were. Number 3, Alejandro Mayorkas, boo. In September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk. No, just shut up, man. Okay? Now that's a cover story for days if I've ever heard one. It's not a very good one either. Here's another boo coming. White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby says, we assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, and even stars that are mistakenly reported as drones. Now, granted, there was one idiot that did report, there's look at this twinkling. I got the video. No, it was definitely a star. It just zoomed in so close that it looked like it was big and nearby, but it was actually clearly a star. But to that point, I mean, just trying. They're diffusing. They're what is it? They're not projecting. What's the word I'm looking for? They're deflecting. There we go. They're deflecting the idea. They're gaslighting us. Representative Chris Smith says the elusive maneuvering of these drones. Listen to this one. The elusive maneuvering of these drones suggests a major military power sophistication. That begs the question whether they have been deployed to test our defensive capabilities, or worse, by violent dictatorships, perhaps maybe Russia or China or Iran or North Korea. Now, some would argue that's fear-mongering, or just a distraction, especially if we believe in the aforementioned sniffer nuke theory. But he could be correct. Attorney Joseph McCaley says, I am much calmer than my wife, but as the days go on, I am getting her perspective and getting more concerned. If I step outside, am I breathing in something? Is something coming off of these things? Another conspiracy is that it is a kind of psyop event that we are getting subjected to. This is an experiment, and they are going to fly drones overhead and get people ready for a work where drones will always fly. A world, not a work. A world where drones will always fly. That does seem to, just to be clear, that does jibe with the idea of giving more power to the federal government, as Mayorkas had requested, giving more power to DHS over who can and cannot fly drones. It's just nonstop. Every time you think one has passed over, you turn around and see a new one hanging overhead. That is how it has been most nights. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder says there are thousands of drones flown around the U.S. on a daily basis, yada, yada, yada. I don't even want to hear it. Okay? This whole thing of nothing to see here. There's something to see here. We know that. President Trump knows that. But apparently they're reaching some people because a whole lot of people are saying, I guess there's nothing to see here. Number 8, U.S. Senator Rick Scott. The lack of transparency is exactly why Americans don't trust our federal government. Not to mention, if these are the same Chinese drones I fought to ban from our military, they're a national security threat. Yes, they are. Number 9, John Ferguson, who we covered, the CEO of Saxon Aerospace. My own guess is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. He added that the drones could be searching for gas leaks or pockets of radiation. He also said he believed the drones were seeking something very important. Oh boy, I do agree. So that's 1 through 9. I am going to take a break, but not a break. I just station identification. We're doing this switch over. If you're watching right now on Frank's speech, then here in I don't know, I guess about a minute, I'll be gone. You can watch the rest of this segment, which I'll continue shortly after the little station identification. You can watch the final half. That was the first half. We got the second half coming up as far as quotes from various people. But this is a good time to mention that if you're not, regardless of where you're watching me, if you're not following me on Rumble and X, those are the two places that I feel are the most likely to not get rid of me in the near future. So go to jdrucker.com/rumble, jdrucker.com/rumble. Be sure to subscribe to me there. Get all my shows, the works. It'll be, that's where you can get literally everything. So check it out, jdrucker.com/rumble or Twitter or x.com/JD and I'm going to take a short station identification. God bless you. You can find my channels, my articles, my socials at jdrucker.com/find. That's jdrucker.com/find. All right, let's finish this second half. We did John Ferguson. All right, we're on to Officer Lou. And again, these are theories, perspectives of various famous people. What are the drones? So covered 1 through 9 last segment. Now we're on 10 through 18. Number 10, Officer Lou. The U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission has confirmed that radioactive material was lost in transit earlier this month, heightening fears about public safety and sparking theories about mysterious drone activity in New Jersey. Officer Lou, a prominent political commentator, highlighted the NRC's event report during a review of regulatory alerts. And he said, or he wrote, "While looking at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission alerts, I can confirm that there is radioactive material that has gone missing on December 2nd, 2024 out of New Jersey. This might be the reason for the drones, just speculation at this point," he wrote. Now, I cover this if you're watching late. You got to rewind all the way to the beginning of today's show, and you'll see that we talked about this, and I explained my theory, which is that the alert was put out there as the paperwork trail in order to be able to get the equipment they needed to go hunt for whatever it is they're hunting for, possibly a dirty bomb, possibly a nuke. Number 11, former CIA Operation Officer Laura Ballman. Now, in terms of who is behind this, deducing the statements that have been made by John Kirby, who has said that these objects are not operating illegally, coupled with the several op-eds that have been out the last 24 hours about the need to look at our detection systems, makes me think perhaps this is actually a classified exercise to test either evasion technology or detection technology in urban areas. Now, of all of the theories we've heard so far, this is the one, other than the cover-up theories from like John Kirby and the idiots themselves. But this one by Laura Ballman makes no sense at all. Okay, I get it, but no, not this long. Not maybe for a day or two, but no, that's idiotic. Number 12, Deputy Defense Secretary Sabrina Singh says there is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States and there is no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States. And I agree. Number 13, Jason Sullivan says one of the most critical clues lies in where these drones are coming from. Witnesses consistently report seeing the drones emerging from the Atlantic Ocean, flying inland in organized formations. If these drones are autonomous UAVs, they have finite battery life, meaning they cannot be flying across the ocean from distant foreign shores. Duh. Moreover, the Pentagon has explicitly denied the existence of an Iranian mothership or any foreign vessel operating off the Atlantic coast. This leaves only one plausible explanation. These drones are being launched from U.S. military ships positioned just off the coast. Okay? Fair. Possible. Number 14, Adam Kinzinger. Drones exist. That doesn't mean they're Iran, alien, or sniffing out nukes. Oh, just a brilliant statement, Adam. Number 15, Cobus Swart. This is a psyop, in and out. And yes, I do agree about that. I have been tracking flights in and out of the New York, New Jersey region while these drones were in the sky, and not a single airspace alert or diversion was issued for flights passing overhead. If the U.S. government suspected foreign-controlled, possibly hostile drones, they would have cleared the airspace in minutes, and military aircraft would have intercepted them. Yes, 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 and yes. It is a psyop. I mean, one way or the other, even if, being a psyop does not necessarily It's not mutually exclusive from any of the other theories. They could be sniffing for nukes, and it could be a psyop. They could be shooting for to pass legislation or take control of the skies or whatever, and it still be a psyop. Just say it's a psyop, that's like saying, it's a theory. Okay, well, what's the theory? Well, it's a theory. No. Anyway, yes, it is a psyop, though, for sure. Number 16, Matthew Morello, the mayor of Washington Township, New Jersey, says, I'm not trying to stir anything up, but we all know, if you just turn on the television, that drones can be used in an aggressive fashion. They can carry payloads. They can be used for all kinds of really aggressive type things. And yes, there is that concern about what are they carrying? Are they spraying anything? Are they dropping anything? Are they being used to bring stuff ashore, maybe from a boat or a submarine or something out at sea? Bringing in supplies for an invasion. There's all sorts of possibilities there. Number 17, Josh Rogan says, if these really are Defense Department drones doing radiation sniffing for possible dirty bombs, one could understand why they wouldn't want to admit that and panic people. But at this point, the lack of disclosure is damaging public trust. Time to come clean. Well, here's the thing. If it is dirty bombs or nuke, then they will never come clean. Not once. 50 years. The only way that we would know if it's one of those things is if somebody else finds it and blows the whistle, or if it blows up. That's it. If they discover them, and or it or them or whatever, and they're able to contain it or them or whatever, we'll never hear about it. If they don't discover them, but they're never used, we'll never hear about it. So it's only if they blow or somebody else finds them. That's the only way that anybody's ever going to come clean. And even then, coming clean for our government, for any government really, is a matter of telling a part of the truth surrounding it by lies. And then, last but not least, Morgan Phillips at Fox News. The mysterious drone phenomenon centered in New Jersey has prompted government officials to issue fresh calls for expanded power as their counter-drone authorization is set to expire this week. Now, I keep hearing this theory, and I've actually run this theory as a segment of my show before. If that's it, if that really is it, I would be so disappointed. I would be happy, sort of, but I would be so disappointed because that tells me that the way that they're going about this, the way that the current administration is going about this tells me that either they're playing a long game, okay, beyond the 4 years of President Trump, or they have intentions of either shortening or not even allowing to launch the Trump administration. There'd be no reason for them to push so hard. And I'm talking, mass hysteria in some cases, people concerned. It seems to be a pretty huge operation to get a piece of legislation or a rule passed, when it would be much easier to just bribe or bully or blackmail whoever would be used to make that decision. The current drone countering authorities, authorized as part of the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2018, grant both the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice authority to use advanced detection technology to identify, track, and intercept drones that aren't complying with the law. The 2018 measure exempts the agencies from other laws that prevent interference with aircraft and wiretapping without a warrant. It expires on December 20th, and lawmakers must attach a last-minute extension to a stopgap spending bill to fund the government this week in order to prevent a lapse. In other words, and we'll see. I'm sure we'll talk about the stopgap spending bill tomorrow, but they don't need to have drones, these huge drones. Controversy if it's just to authorize more funds, more powers, or the same powers. I'm just not buying that one at all. So there you go. I'm very interested in your take. Now, if you're watching on Rumble, don't use the chat. Use the comments, because unfortunately Rumble chat doesn't stay. Okay? The comments do. So the comments will stay in the video, and even after, when I'm reading the comments later, I'll be able to read those and often reply whenever possible. Obviously, if you're watching on X or any other platform, please, leave your theories. Which theories sound like the most viable? Is it, maybe it's none of these. Maybe you have a different theory. I've seen a few other theories that weren't included on this list. All I know is that this is still news. Contrary to the lack of attention that's being paid to it by legacy media, conservative media, and alternative media, very little attention is being paid to it, and yet we still don't have answers. We have fewer answers today than we did yesterday. Okay, there's more questions that are popping up and not as many answers. And yet it seems to have been dropped. I get it, but if we are talking about at least 2 or 3 of those scenarios are massive threats to the United States of America. So we shouldn't just say, oh, well, I guess that drone thing, it's time to move on. Let's talk about Adam Kinzinger. Let's talk about Cassidy Hutchison. Look, I mean, nothing against, I'm not saying, oh, it's got to be drones. That's the only news. But don't ignore it. Don't stop. That's the only point I'm trying to make. And again, going back to what I'd said earlier, this could be the perfect reason for me to make the final decision to shift the show, to make this more of a conspiracy / faith-driven show, not so much driven by the news cycle, because the news cycle tells me that I should be talking all day about Liz Cheney and all that stuff. That's what's in the news. Let me go to what's buzzing on X right now. Let's go to the Explore tab. Explore tab says Elon Musk versus federal agencies. That's a story. Great. Fetterman engaged in bipartisan talks with Trump nominees. I guess that's a story. 14 detained. No, that one is a story. As a matter of fact, let me bring that one up because that is definitely a story. So, for those who missed it this morning, police, law enforcement in Aurora, Colorado, which I'm sure many of you should remember is the place where the apartment complex that was taken over, one of the apartment complexes that was taken over by Aragua, I can't pronounce it. The Venezuelan street gang that is taking over entire portions of cities in the United States of America, thanks to Biden and Kamala Harris's open borders. Well, 14 of them got arrested, and apparently they had busted into an apartment in the complex that they control, taken the people in there to another apartment, beat them, pistol whipped them, stabbed one of the guys, held them captive. And I mean, they don't care. They don't care. And so that's something that I would talk about, even if I was doing more of a conspiracy show, because when it comes to conspiracies, everything that we talk about in the news, there is a conspiracy surrounding it. For example, in this case, it's not just, these criminals are there and they're part of a gangs, and there's always been gangs. This one is just more whatever. No, they're here for a reason. Okay, this is part of the global elite cabal's plan to destroy America. Okay, they want infiltration. They want open borders. They want us terrified. They want American citizens to be a minority in our own nation. They want this nation to be made up mostly of illegal aliens or undocumented citizens. I mean, they really are trying to fundamentally transform the United States of America in a way that's going to weaken us to the point that they'll be able to either take us over or bring us to heel and make it to where we can be one of the 10 regional powers. The North American regional power would be one power amongst the 10 that they've been shooting for, they being the Club of Rome. Klaus Schwab and Henry Kissinger have been talking about it since 1973. This is not a conspiracy theory. That's fact. This is acknowledged. They've been wanting to make the world divided up into 10 regional powers. Now, if you read your Bible, if you read Daniel, if you read Revelation, you will notice that certainly creepily aligns with end times Bible prophecy. Now, are they part of the prophecy? Is the global elite cabal just trying to use the prophecy to get us thinking in the wrong direction? These are the types of questions that I want to tackle. And yes, it does go back to Tren de Aragua, and I will learn how to pronounce it properly. This is one example of how I can still take stories that are relevant today. I don't have to go talk about whether or not Paul McCartney died in a car accident in the 60s and was replaced by a doppelganger so the Beatles could continue to print money. That doesn't have to be the points of discussion. If I'm talking about conspiracy theories, there are so many that are happening right now in front of us that are relevant, that are absolutely relevant. J6, monster conspiracy theories surrounding that. Voter fraud, big tech, big pharma, big ag. We've got a lot of bigs that need to be taken down. And just regurgitating the news like every other conservative podcaster, show host out there, I don't know. I don't know if I should be doing that anymore. I think I should be focusing more on the things. Didn't call you a moron. I'm just saying I should be focusing more upon the things that maybe other show hosts aren't willing to discuss. Let me know what you think. You can contact me, reach out to me. Go to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk. That will take you directly, or that form goes directly to my inbox. You can also go to x.com/jdrucker. That's my X account, and I have open DMs. So if you've got an X account yourself, I don't have to be following you for you to contact me directly. I strongly encourage you to do so, because between Rumble and X, I'm going to be on Getter, I'm going to be on BitChute, I'm going to be on Brighteon and Apple Podcast and all those various places as well. But the two where I'm putting my most effort are going to be X and Rumble, my Rumble channel at jdrucker.com/Rumble. All of this will tie into my Substack as well as my regular websites, as well as the Liberty Daily and all that good stuff. But as far as interacting with me directly, watching my content, making sure that you never miss any of it, jdrucker.com/Rumble. That'll take you to my Rumble channel. And x.com/jdrucker. Open DMs, reach out to me, follow me, repost my stuff, and like it and all that good stuff. All right, that's it. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.
I have one kid. You have 5 kids.
That's what you.
How do you? That's incredible.
It's kind of like being an FBI agent. You're always kind of monitoring them and making sure everyone's safe.
Makes good sense. You know, I'm actually a real agent. Well, not an agent. I'm actually a deputy sheriff.
Are you really?
Right there. Many, many years.
Are you serious?
For real life, real life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're a sheriff.
Yep.
Played at Princeton. Pro football player. Greatest superhero of all time.
Never drafted to Major League Baseball like you with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thank you very much.
Knuckleballer. How do you hit a knuckleball?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
That's the whole point.
That was the beauty of it. You know, we may have always played on different sides, you know, being the superhero or the supervillain.
Supervillain.
But we have a lot more in common than I thought that we did.
Which is shocking, because one thing's for sure. Genesis Gold Group is a company that we both trust. They make safeguarding your IRA or your 401k as simple as possible. And I need simple,
That's right.
I'll be honest.
And with their stellar reputation, they're as solid as the gold that they sell.
Like this gold right here. So call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD.
What is that?
This is what they call a prepper bar. So like you can break off these, see these little pieces? Oh, it's on both sides.
And it's great because you can carry that around small. And
Oh yeah,
it's not
and you
like-
can literally use it to spend.
Or it's not like this
Think
one.
that-
This
What?
is a big fella. This is a really great one.
Is that real?
This is a real one. You want to hold it? It's heavy.
Holy smokes.
That's pretty great. Yeah, you can get them one of those from Genesis Gold yourself.
Hey, you guys see this? Look, check
Dean,
this out.
Dean, that's my kid's college tuition money. Hold on, I'll be back. Dean!
Who's the supervillain now, huh?
Yeah, that's my gold, Dean!